Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another stud story. It hadn't been too long ago. I told a Christmas story to everybody, and it was about a farm we lived on. And today, I'm going to tell a little longer one today, and it's going to be totally different. But we're going to talk about the first farm my father ever bought. This was in 1958. He actually bought the farm in 1956. It was 300 acres. We lived on the Gulf Coast. He had gone down there, sent by my grandfather Roy out of Nashville, who was running the Tennessee Territory in 12 different states. And he had sent my dad down there to open up along the Gulf Coast of America, basically from Tallahassee to New Orleans. And so Dad, we were living in Mobile, Alabama, which is a very nice city. And I was in the first grade when we got there in 1954. A couple of years after we lived there, we'd never lived on a farm. He bought a piece of property on Highway 90, which is a major highway along the Gulf Coast that went east and west. It was halfway between Mobile and Pensacola, Florida, in a little town called Loxley, Alabama. My dad was kind of a crazy dude. He bought a bulldozer because it was 300 acres of land, and he wanted to clear it all, and he did. Within the first year, all of the trees were gone, and instead of the trees, he had made a beautiful, beautiful farm. He built 4 lakes on it, built it himself, had a big pan that he used with his bulldozer to build dams with, and he built 4 lakes on it. We put 600 pecan trees, little pecan trees that were probably only about 6-8 feet tall. Very, very young trees, right? And so we had 600 pecan trees on it. We farmed it, but it was a different type of farming because we were so far south and we had this real sandy soil there. We grew watermelons and strawberries and soybeans. And then Dad, being the crazy guy he was, he had an uncle, Roy's brother, youngest brother, about 20 years younger than Roy, same age as Dad just about, named Lester Welch, was a cowboy. And he was wrestling for Dad on the Gulf Coast business there. And he was kind of spending a lot of time on the farm. So we end up buying horses, and we end up having some cows. We end up, having some Shetland ponies. And then Lester came along and talked Dad into buying a rodeo, actually buying the Brahma bulls and the steers for dogging, and the calves for calf roping, and the broncs for bronc riding, and then they built the rodeo arena. Dad was a great welder. He used to make his own wrestling rings, and he not only made his wrestling rings, he built bleachers. He built bleachers around this entire rodeo arena. And during this course of time, from 1954 to about 58, when all this was built and done, wrestling had exploded in that Gulf Coast area, to the point that he and Mario Galento, with Joe Lewis as the referee, drew almost 40,000 people in Ladd Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, 1958. So the wrestling program was red hot, watched by no telling how many thousands of people at that time along the coast. When you draw that many people to a wrestling match, you got a big audience at home for sure. And he goes on TV. He just got this rodeo arena built, and he's got we'd never done a whole lot of things that we're about to do in this one. But he goes on TV and he says, I've got a farm, and he told everybody exactly how you get to it. If you live in Mobile, you go west on Highway 90, and if you live in Pensacola, east on Highway 90. Or back, I think I'm probably wrong. It's probably west if you're in Mobile, and east if you're in Pensacola. Either way, he gave everybody the directions. And we have this rodeo on Easter Sunday, 1958. Wow, had no idea what we were going to draw. He didn't think that we would draw that many people. We had a rodeo arena with bleachers that would probably seat 2,000 people. it was it finally, the crowd was so big that it shut down Highway 90, that the highway patrol had to close the road. And people were buying tickets, and then if they didn't buy tickets, they just crawled across the fences and they walked across the farm. It was probably 300 yards from the road back to where the rodeo arena was. And I gotta tell you another one. We'll probably have another stud story that I'll tell you about all the horrible things that happened during this rodeo. Really dangerous things that happened during this rodeo. But I want to talk about one thing in particular. We had a Shetland pony, and my brother loves to tell this story. This pony was so nasty. We had other ponies, but you know, for some reason, Rob liked to ride this one when the pony would let him. You know, and the pony was really mean. And I remember one time, just the two of us riding across the farm, and the pony, this one I'm talking about, bucked him off. And it was in the wintertime, and he had on one of those big old black motorcycle type jackets that they had back in the 50s. And the pony, once he bucked him off, Rob went over his head and took a bump in front of the pony. And when he started to get up, the pony ran and headbutted him in the back. And then when he went down, he reached and grabbed him by his coat, by his back too, but he had his coat too. And he picked him up in the air and he shook him with his mouth, just shook him. And I was on the other pony, and I'm just like, wow, what in the heck is this, you know? And then the pony finally, you could hear his teeth pop because he lost his bite on Rob's back. Rob took a bump, he got up, he started running, the pony ran, knocked him down, and bit him again. So this pony was a mean little pony, really, really bad. And a lot of Shetland ponies that people may not know are sometimes worse than horses. And they can actually hurt a horse. So some of them are really, really mean. Anyway, the rodeo happens. And in the rodeo, before the rodeo starts, they open the gate up, and they allow the cowboys to come in and kind of let their horses get accustomed to the rodeo arena, kind of stretch their legs, exercise them just a little bit. So I get the Shetland ponies, the mean one. And I'm going to ride him, and you know, a bunch of cowboys. I'm talking about maybe 20, 30 of them, you know, just ride around the edges of the arena and acclimate their horse to the arena. And so I got on this bad pony, and I started around the arena with everybody else. There's probably 3,000 people sitting out there about ready for the rodeo to start. And this pony had another real bad habit, and I want to be careful about how I put this, but he had a habit. If he came to a big horse's manure, of a horse that dumped right there, and he stuck his face down there and sniffed of it, he had to buck you off. I mean, he just had to get you off his back for whatever reason. So I get on there. I'm 10 years old at this point, and I'm riding my pony around the arena, and all of a sudden the horse up there in front of me takes a dump while he's walking, and I knew right then when the pony gets there, this is gonna be bad. I'm gonna get embarrassed. And so basically the pony stopped right there where I thought he would, and then he just cut loose, man. And I tried to ride him for a little bit, but he finally bucked me off. I mean, he didn't run, thank goodness. He just kind of stood there and looked at me like a dummy I was. And I got up, and I was real mad at him, right? And the people in the stands out there, all they saw was these guys riding around, and now all of a sudden they see this kid riding a pony, and the pony bucks him off. So there was a little bit of pop in the crowd. Hey, look at that, look at that. So I got mad at him. I grabbed his stirrup, I kicked him in the stomach, you know, jerked him by the reins, got back on him. And he took 2 more steps, and there was another pile, and he dumped me again. Now the pop gets bigger. Everybody in the stands are like, wow, that's pretty good, you know? And I'm thinking, I'm just embarrassed, you know, like, wow, I want to go hide, but I don't know how. I don't want to have to walk out of there with my pony. I want to ride him out of there. So I get on him the 3rd time, and it happens again. Right dead center, middle of the rodeo arena this time. And when he bucks me off this time, I get a heck of a pop. The big, you know, And I really believe that the fans thought this was part of the show, that this was, you know, part of the deal. And so I remember getting up that third time, and I just went and got him by the reins. I wasn't going to try to get back on him again and make a bigger fool of myself. I was thinking I was a fool. And Rob comes walking into the arena, and he's laughing, right? Like everybody else in the crowd. They're all out there laughing, and you know, it's a funny event. So I grabbed him by the reins, and I start to lead my pony out. And they start throwing coins. Thousands of people dug in there, started throwing these $half. Back in the old days, you had the silver dollars, you had the $half, you had quarters. They were throwing money over the fence into the rodeo arena. Well, old Rob, his attitude changed quick. You know, he went to filling his pockets with the money just as much as I was. You know, it's like, wow. So, you know, it was an odd situation. It turned out to be what I thought would made a fool out of me. Actually made me a little bit of money. And I got another one for you. Sooner or later, I'm going to tell the second part of this. We'll call this the rodeo story. And I'm going to tell you all the horrible things that happened that day, including one with a Brahma bull that was bucking so hard that he bucked over on the top of the fence. And we had this steel cable that ran through the top of all the posts that went around the rodeo arena. The steel cable catapulted him upside down into the bleachers on top of fans. So we'll talk about rodeo part 2 later on, but that's my story for today. And thank all of you for listening. And I hope you've enjoyed this one, and look forward to telling rodeo number 2.